Hey guys, I'm back with another video and list for you guys today. I'm taking list suggestions in case you forgot, so leave any ideas down below in the comment section. These again are just my personal opinions, and my top 5 monitors might not be the same as yours, and that's totally okay. The links to these are in the description as always, and if you enjoy content like this, make sure to like and subscribe. The first monitor on this list is more of a budget option, since the best monitors out there are more on the pricey side. The best gaming monitors do offer the most premium specs and out-of-the-box accuracy, but not really everyone wants to pay that price that they come at. So, for the first spot on this list, we're checking out the Pixio PX277P Prime. The 27-inch monitor offers QHD resolution at 165Hz refresh rate, plus adaptive sync. You also do get HDR, but no extended color. For $500 Canadian dollars, yes, this is a budget option, you get some pretty great specs. I'll put the spec sheet on the screen and give you some time to check it out. Pause if you need to. The monitor is spec'd to run reliably at 165Hz with AMD FreeSync screen tear fighting technology. You should also be able to run NVIDIA G-Sync on the display just fine, even though it's not a NVIDIA certified monitor. The only obvious sacrifice specs-wise to get a low price is the absence of extended color. This is strictly an sRGB monitor. Pixio starts with an AHVA IPS, which the AHVA standing for Advanced Hyper Viewing Angle. This type of panel promises better viewing angles than regular IPS parts. It also supports HDR10 signals through both the DisplayPort and HDMI 2.0 inputs. The PX277P Prime is already attached to the panel when you take it out of the box, but you are going to need a Phillips head screwdriver to bolt the base in place. A 100mm VESA lug pattern is on the back, but you'll need to provide your own hardware if you plan to use an arm or a bracket. New video idea? The accessory bundle includes one DisplayPort cable and an external power supply. Arguably one of the best parts of this monitor is Pixio's styling. It's simple and it's to the point. The front view is all screen with a thin flush mounted bezel just 9mm wide. The bottom strip is 18mm across and features only a Pixio logo and a tiny blue LED power indicator. The anti-glare layer is just like the one found on most monitors with good reflection control and no grain apparent in the image. Pixio fit it tightly, so there's a good sharpness and contrast here. You control monitor functions via a tiny joystick that isn't in an immediately obvious location. The input panel is tucked up and under the center of the panel and includes a DisplayPort 1.2 that operates up to 165Hz with HDR and FreeSync like mentioned earlier. There are also two HDMI 2.0 ports that you can use with a max refresh rate of 144Hz. Alongside FreeSync and HDR, a 3.5mm audio port supports headphones or powered speakers. Unfortunately for some of you, the PX277P does not have any speakers built in, but luckily for you guys, I have a video just for that. When I told you guys that the first one was the budget option, I actually lied, because I found another monitor for slightly cheaper at around 430 Canadian dollars, but I'm not sure how long I'll be able to keep up with these sub 500 monitors. Apart from that, what monitor do you guys have right now? And which ones are your favorite on the list? Let me know down in the comments. Anyways, the second monitor on this list is the Gigabyte G27Q. On paper, the Gigabyte G27Q is rather plain. It's a flat, 27-inch display with a relatively pedestrian 144Hz refresh rate and a design that wouldn't stand out in an office environment. But it's actually one of the best gaming monitors you would have the pleasure of using. Not only does it have a gorgeous, vibrant panel, but it's also HDR capable and packs plenty of useful features designed to enhance your gaming pleasure. The Gigabyte G27Q has a native resolution of 2560 by 1440 at the standard 16:9 aspect ratio. The stand is simple with a cable management slot. It also offers height and tilt adjustment but no swivel. You can VESA mount the G27Q if you prefer to mount it on a wall or a custom arm. The G27Q uses an IPS panel with a 144Hz refresh rate and a 1 millisecond response time. The G27Q handles gaming incredibly well thanks to adaptive sync via AMD FreeSync Premium. It's also G-Sync compatible, so whether you are Team Red or Team Green, the G27Q plays nice either way. The G27Q has a dynamic contrast ratio of 1000 to 1, and it shows. The colors are punchy and vibrant, with excellent definition from the dark to the bright areas. There's also plenty of controls to calibrate the monitor to your liking. The IPS panel has 8-bit color with 92% DCI P3 coverage. The G27Q also has a pair of USB 3.0 Type A downstream ports and one USB 3.0 Type B. There's also a pair of 2-watt speakers integrated into the monitor, but they don't sound too great. In fact, they sound worse than average laptop speakers, but thankfully there's a headphone jack. The OSD on the G27Q opens you up to a ton of profiles and monitor settings. You navigate with the little joystick on the back, and I love that you don't have to press the joystick to activate the menu options. Flicking the joystick over a menu immediately activates after a second. Once in the menu, you get to things like picture profiles, black equalization, aim assist, blue light filtering, and even more. The monitor's design may feel a little bit bland to most people, but as another fairly cheap monitor, this one really gets all the right boxes ticked. The third item on this list is a big jump in price from the last two, but trust me when I say that it is worth it. It has its fair shares of flaws, like everything, but the pros do outweigh the cons. The LG UltraGear 27GN 950 is a new model into the busy 27-inch 4K 144Hz segment. Coming in at $1,100 Canadian dollars in the Amazon link below, this monitor does seem a little out of question for a lot of people, but just wait. The 1 millisecond response time claim may be qualified, but LG's nano IPS panels are still the quickest in the IPS sector. What's more, with both 10-bit color and a very impressive 98% coverage of the DCI P3 gamut, the 27GN950 is a seriously high fidelity monitor. LG reckons it's as good for content creation as it is for gaming. To that, you can add compatibility with both NVIDIA's G-Sync and AMD's FreeSync adaptive refresh, slick, slim bezel design, and LG's Sphere Lighting 2.0 RGB visual theatrics. And you know, this is a 4K IPS monitor that runs fully at 144Hz refresh rate. This panel is one of the nicest looking monitors I've personally ever laid my eyes on. Hop in the game and it's just as impressive. I highly doubt you'll ever get tired of the buttery smooth goodness that is 144Hz, but combined with the crazy sharp detail that comes from the 4K pixel grid, well, it's pretty special. The catch, of course, is that you'll need one hell of a GPU to make the most of the 144Hz refresh rate while running it at 4K. The most aggressive pixel overdrive settings suffer from fairly obvious overshoot, and therefore ghosting. But in subjective terms, the medium overdrive setting makes for pretty speedy pixels, especially for an IPS monitor, even if you're not getting the full 1 millisecond performance claimed otherwise. Factor in little to no discernible input lag, no doubt thanks to 144Hz refresh, and you have a spectacular gaming experience. All of which means the new LG UltraGear 27GN950 is a tricky panel to characterize. It certainly delivers on its core functionality of 4K and 144Hz refresh rates and quick responses, but some of the finer details and added features, including HDR and response, aren't unambiguous wins. Meanwhile, the lack of HDMI 2.1 and USB Type-C are also pretty limiting, especially looking forward. The LG 27GN950 does support HDR, include local dimming, and comes complete with VESA's Display HDR 600 certification. However, the local dimming compromises just 16 edge-lit zones, which doesn't bode well for a true HDR experience. You can't deny that the LG 27GN950 does come with a lot of really good pros, but it also may have some deal-breaking cons that you might not feel comfortable with. It may be limiting for some people, but if the monitor does fit your style and is in your price range, I highly recommend you live with such a beautiful piece of technology. When it comes to gaming monitors and monitors in general, there really are a lot of options. So in case there are some you think I missed, or you just want to see more monitor videos, let me know in the comments and I'll do a part 2. But for the 4th spot on the list, we have what is possibly the best widescreen curved monitor on the market. The Acer Predator X38 is without a doubt contender for best wide monitor, and maybe even best monitor overall right now, because it ticks a lot of boxes. It's enormous at 37.5 inches, with a glorious 21:9 aspect ratio, and a 3840 by 1600 resolution. It's curved, though only a little, with a relatively relaxed 2300R bend. But that's still enough to have each edge come in at you just enough to make taking it in all quite natural. The panel is IPS, which is what you would want for luscious colors, and Acer has overcome the big IPS downside of typically high response time. This beast monitor has a 1 millisecond GTG response, which is truly IPS coming of age and doing it all without the compromises of the old monitors. The Predator X38 also supports the G-Sync hardware module and also Display HDR400 certification. All this rips along at a stock refresh rate of 144Hz, which if you manage to overclock it, can reach up to 175Hz. There is almost nothing on the technology tree that this monitor does not support. That's also the reason why it's so expensive. This monitor comes in at 2,000 Canadian dollars. Surprisingly, it's actually pretty light for a monster this size at just 21 pounds, and that includes the big metal stand, which comes pre-fitted. Monitor cable connecting is usually kind of annoying, with difficult to reach and see recessed ports. But the Predator X38 tilts back a full 35 degrees, exposing its display and power ports underneath for effortless, no fumble plugging in. Once settled, the screen raises and lowers and rotates, and of course tilts to a generous degree, far more than most monitors. The extra rotation means you can position the stand at an angle to keep one of the legs from interfering with your mousepad, and just rotate the screen back to face you. The screen also raises or lowers 13 centimeters, which again is very generous. The UI controls are around the back and work well enough. Switching inputs can take a little longer than you'd like, and adjusting the brightness is trickier than it should be, but it's generally well laid out and accessible. As a general productivity monitor, this thing is basically a dream. The size obviously makes things possible you just can't do on anything smaller. Text shows up crisply with no bleed or no jaggies, and that's kind of unusual to see on such a large screen gaming monitor. With a price tag like this is sort of what you would expect, right? If you've made it this far into the video, I want to thank you. I put quite a lot of effort into these vids, and a like and a subscription would be highly appreciated. If you guys are enjoying the video, let me know, and tell me in the comments what my next list should be. But for our final monitor on the list, we have a first. The first 360Hz gaming monitor, and it asks every esports champion in the world to step their game up even more. What I'm talking about is the Asus ROG Swift 360Hz PG259QN, a very long name for a very good monitor. The monitor's sleek design, gamer-friendly ergonomics, record-setting input lag, and exceptional color accuracy place it head and shoulders above not just most gaming monitors, but most monitors, period. While its contrast ratio is a little low and the price is a little high, for a panel as cutting edge as this, I'm willing to forgive a few small missteps to give the Swift 360Hz one of the fastest monitors I've ever seen. As mentioned, the 24.5-inch Swift 360Hz is the world's first 360Hz gaming monitor. It features a 1920 by 1080 pixel native resolution and support for NVIDIA's G-Sync adaptive sync tech. The full unit measures at 21.9 by 19.6 by 9.7 inches with the stand installed. It weighs about 21.8 pounds fully built. Speaking of the stand, it's also a standout element of the unit, being both highly ergonomic with 25 degrees of horizontal swivel from left to right, and a range of -5 to 20 degrees of vertical tilt. This monitor also rotates 90 degrees, so you can use it as a secondary display, though when you're spending this kind of money, I'm not sure why you'd use it as anything but your primary display. And when I say this kind of money, I mean the 900 Canadian dollar price tag that this monitor generously brings along. A hidden gem of this monitor is that you can see if your hardware or accessories give you terrible input lag, which is good information and will keep you from making frivolous upgrades. The on-screen display menu is incredibly deep and fully featured, offering up the ability to custom tune nearly every aspect of how the monitor behaves and performs. Color controls, gaming features, and RGB can all be highly specialized to fit your specific needs or playstyle. All of the settings can be saved to custom profiles, which you can switch as you move from gaming to watching movies or to working on a color-sensitive creative project. Like most Asus monitors that release these days, the Swift 360Hz comes with the Aura Sync RGB system, including a series of LED strips laid under an ROG logo on the back of the unit, which can all be customly programmed. The Swift 360Hz is equipped with one HDMI 2.0 port, one DisplayPort 1.4B slot, two USB 3.0 downstream ports, one headphone jack, and no built-in speakers. The Swift 360Hz is based on the so-called fast IPS panel technology, which first made its debut in Asus TUF line of 280Hz gaming monitors earlier last year. FIPS technology uses thinned out elements and optimizes voltage patterns to deliver IPS displays that push the limits of refresh rates, response times, and input lag, without suffering on visual performance the way a TN-based or a VA-based high refresh panel might. Along with the crazy refresh times, this monitor covers 98% of the RGB grid, which is on par with the other monitors on this list, and I know you guys have all seen how beautiful those are. And that, my friends, are the top 5 best gaming monitors so far this year. There are plenty more monitors like these, and if you guys are interested to see more of them, let me know in the comments so I can make a part 2. I'm glad you guys stuck to the end, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Have a wonderful day.